guest today, I started loving when I was a teenager. I was the biggest fan of Phil Collins and Genesis of anyone I'd ever met.
Really?
I was known for it in my high school, yes.
Okay.
When they had the No Jacket Required tour, I had no shirt required on my gym shirt. Got in trouble. I did. That's why I'm extremely thrilled to start today's show with the virtuoso lead guitarist of Genesis. He is Milwaukee's own Daryl Stuermer. He knows what it's like to be a real-life rock star because he's been touring the world to sold-out crowds since 1978.
What?
Yep.
Daryl just finished a U.S. tour with Phil Collins, and today he's here on our yellow couch, and he's going to talk with us about an upcoming show he's got with the Manitowoc Symphony Orchestra in just a little bit. But first, we have so much to go through. Good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome. How you feel sitting on the yellow couch?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Comfortable?
Yeah, I've run into you a few times out at a restaurant or something.
Because you actually live fairly close to me. This I know. And I'm always so excited to see you. I think I overwhelm you all the time.
Fair statement,
try to,
right?
it just
Fair
happens.
statement.
But I wonder, for you've been called the permanent part-timer.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest groups of all time. How do you? I mean, do you look at your life as being quite storied, or does it seem average to you?
Permanent part-time temporary member.
Yes.
That's what Phil Collins calls me, because I've never been a member of Genesis, but I've been with them for now 40 years.
Wow.
On and off.
Yeah.
And it's been a nice journey. But I do play guitar on all of the Phil Collins albums, but not on the Genesis album. So I tour with them, and I record and tour with Phil Collins. We just, like you said, finished a U.S. tour. It was fantastic. You know, every show was sold out, and we were in South America a few months ago, and there was stadiums of 50,000
Wow.
and 30,000. It was unbelievable. So it's been a nice journey.
That's awesome.
Really incredible. You know, I think as you kind of look over, like Molly said, your storied career and everything, do you have a favorite venue? Because you've done everything. I mean, you've played at some of the biggest venues. You've played at the Academy Awards, the Oscars, VH1, MTV Awards for the royal family, all these different things. What has been maybe a moment that when someone says, you know, this was it for me?
Mm-hmm.
Right, there was one actually. I mean, there's a lot of them, but there was one in particular. We played in Rome. This was in 2007. It was the last Genesis tour we did. I don't know if it's the final, but it's the last one we did. And there was 500,000 people.
Whoa.
It was just this open area called Circus Maximus, and it's just this big area, and it went on forever.
Outside?
Yes, yes, yeah, because there's no indoors.
I'm like, because how they hearing all that?
But no, it was fantastic, and what was amazing about it, it was during the day it was about 90 degrees. And people came at 12 noon. We didn't play until 9 o'clock at night. By the time it was 9 o'clock at night, it was about probably 75 degrees. It was beautiful. But there's a DVD of it. It's called When in Rome.
Nice.
And that is the one that sticks out in my mind.
Wow.
Incredible. So it's the live shows with Genesis. You've worked with every solo Phil Collins album. You've had some solo albums of your own.
That's right.
You have a show coming up where you're playing with the Manitowoc Symphony Orchestra. Is there a guitarist that you sort of admire, idolize, would love to play with, and maybe never have?
Well, there's ones that I grew up loving. Wes Montgomery was one in the jazz world. Jimi Hendrix in the rock world. I have the same birth date, November 27, that he has.
Oh, you're a Scorpio.
No, I'm a Sagittarius.
Oh, you're right on the cusp.
Sorry.
You just
I'm the
made it into
18th. I'm November 18th, so I thought we were right there.
I was born on Thanksgiving, in fact. I think I was the turkey.
Wow.
But there's a lot of guitar players. There's some great ones right now that I really admire. Eric Johnson's one that I kind of relate to the way he plays. That's one of them that I love his playing a lot.
I know in interviews people have asked you, do you see yourself more as a jazz guitarist or a rock guitarist? And you've said before sort of a fusion of different genres.
Exactly. I mean, that's all I can see. When I hear myself, I think it's not a jazz guitarist, that's not a rock guitarist, it's somewhere in between. So that's what I do.
What's your favorite song to play that just never gets old?
Well, with Genesis, there's one called Firth of Fifth that I love playing. That's an odd one to say, Firth of Fifth, but it's Firth of Fifth. And it depends if I'm playing bass with Genesis or if I'm playing guitar, so it kind of varies. But with my band, we do that song, Firth of Fifth, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to say when you're talking about Genesis songs because I like them all. They're like your own children.
Yeah.
Which one do you like best? I'm not sure. But maybe one you like playing baseball with or something.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And
about
lead guitar with Phil Collins.
Yes.
Right? Is
Yes.
there one that you love or maybe that really stretches you that you'd like to play with him?
Yeah, there's one called Easy Lover.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of a big guitar solo in it that kind of got recognized as a good solo from the 80s.
Yeah.
Because I remember we recorded that in 1984 and it came out in 85 and it became a #1 hit. So,
Do you have a favorite album from Phil Collins?
let me think. Another one, it's a tough one, but I would say No Jacket Required.
Yes. Okay.
There you
that's
go.
a yes.
Yeah, you just made her day for
Thinking
that
about,
one.
like
No, I
the
really do.
studio and so I have them all memorized.
It's a great album all the way around.
It
and
is.
And also, it was what I remember is doing the album, and it was such a great time. And we didn't know it was going to be such a huge, huge hit, but it was, and that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, that was the album of the year, I think.
Yes, it won about, I think it was 5
Grammys.
and we were
Wow.
there, and it was a lot of fun.
Wow. What do you do when you're off the stage? Who are you in your normal everyday around the house life?
Just like probably what you do, you know. But I don't. I would say, you know, just generally, I do a lot of practicing. My wife will tell you that while I'm watching Morning Blend, I'm playing guitar.
And if you're doing what I'm doing, you're petting your cat.
yeah, well, and we don't have one. So I'll
for
pet your
saying
cat.
Yeah, thanks.
But no, I mean, really, it's pretty much a normal lifestyle that I have
Yeah.
as well. But I do sit around and play guitar almost all the time when I'm watching television without it plugged in. It's just noodling around. And when my girls were younger, they used to say, "Dad, how come you know that commercial?" I play along with the commercials. You kind of learn them.
Hilarious.
So it's kind of fun.
Is it true you started playing the guitar at 11?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
are your girls musicians?
No, they're not musicians, but they're music lovers, that's for sure. But I was playing trumpet from 3rd grade all the way through high school, but somewhere in the middle, my brother who was playing guitar before me, he's my older brother, I kind of admired him, so I started picking up the guitar, and it kind of worked in the end.
Well, what do you think the key was to a good marriage when you're on the road and you've got a family, but you're touring the world in the U.S.?
I think basically communication, and it's so much easier now, though, I have to say,
Yeah.
because of, you know, you have your phone, you got your cell phone. We used to have to talk to each other, like you call me and then I'll call you at this time, because
Yeah.
then she could call me back. Because at hotels, you know, it would cost you $5 a minute if you're in Europe. So you'd call home and then she'd call me back, and it would be a little cheaper to do it that way. But that's really pretty much. And humor
Yes.
is another. We make each other laugh. That's for sure.
That's cute. Last, do you love the touring years? Because I think about, you know, you've got some years where you're touring and years where you're not. And I'm sure touring and being on the road for everybody is hard. But do you look forward to that, and do you love those years or those hard years to you?
It's both. I always say that what I get paid for is being on stage for that 2.5 hours that I'm on stage. All the rest is what I get paid for. It's the travel is a little rough. Although it's hard to complain now because we travel by private plane. So you don't have to go through the regular terminal screenings and all that stuff. So that is much easier today than it was back in the day.
Yeah.
But you know, I started touring with Genesis, I said 40 years ago. I was married 40 years ago, but my wife and I say we've been married for really 20 because I was gone half the time.
She's like your first and second wife, the same person.
That's right.
All in one.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Kind of separate in the middle.
Right.
Oh, you got a great show coming up. It's Saturday, November 17th. It's at 7:30 p.m. Here's what's happening. It is Daryl Stuermer and your band with
Yes.
the Manitowoc Symphony Orchestra. Again, Saturday, November 17th at 7:30. It's in Manitowoc at the Capitol Civic Centre. You can find out more about that incredible show, getting tickets and more about Daryl by checking out his website. It's darylstuermer.com. Do you know when you'll go on tour again at
Yes.
some point?
Yes, in January we're going to Australia with Phil Collins.
Wonderful.
Awesome. So
What a
cool.
pleasure to have you here.
Great
Thank
to
you.
see you
Yeah,
again. Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much.